You know what's super, super messed up? I realized this morning. Consistency is not the same as stamina. It's also not the same as sustainability. And I'm sure that you've heard over and over again in business, in leadership, in life, just be consistent. And I had this beautiful moment this morning on my morning run. For those of you who are just joining us now, admitting that I am a new convert to the religion of running, I have found that it is an amazing release for me. It gives me space and time in my own thoughts and in my own energy to kind of sort through some stuff with my body and my mind at the same time, just in an activation. And I'm not out to win any races. I'm actually, like, in some cases, painfully slow, which is what actually gave me the inspiration for today's transmission. I love running. But what I have learned over the last year is that consistency with the running is not the same as stamina. So my example from today is I planned for today's run like a pro. The night before, I drank my electrolytes. I ate my protein snack. I laid my clothes out. I checked the weather. I had my lucky socks out. I had my playlist ready to go. I was so dialed in. And then I hit the road, and it was a beautiful morning. It wasn't too cold, wasn't too hot. I was wearing shorts and a long sleeve t-shirt. It was kind of like that beautiful in between. And it was still pitch black out because now that's the time of year that it is. And I knew the sun was coming up, and I had planned my route so that I was going to crest down this hill when the sun was going to rise. And I had it all planned out. And I felt horrible on the run. I didn't have a good run. I had to slow down. I went out too quickly. I pushed myself too hard at the top end, and it was an uphill battle. It was literally uphill on the first half and then downhill on the second, which I had planned deliberately. But what I realized as I got to the end of the run, which I finished, I didn't beat any times. I didn't feel phenomenal. I wasn't celebrating at the end. I was actually kind of grumpy at the end, is that at least I was consistent. So what I'm invited to share with you today is that consistency is not about the intensity. Consistency starts with the intention. So I did not feel great after my run today. It wasn't my best performance, but I did it, and I will adapt for my Thursday run and my Friday run and my Saturday workout. You know what I mean? I will adapt. There was no gap in my intention. If we push, this is the same in business. When we push, we end up overperforming and overcompensating. And that's kind of what happened today on my run, is that I got so excited and I had this vision of the outcome in my head when I was preparing. Instead of just allowing my body to do what it needed to do, which probably was start out slow to begin with, instead of burning rubber like I did and then tiring myself out. Because when we do that, when we have this forced box of a vision before we take the action, we end up inadvertently pushing. And pushing in business is performative. We've been talking a lot about this concept of performance during the transmission series. And when you perform consistently, instead of show up consistently, there is a difference. You will crash. That's what happened on my run today. I was not happy about it. I crashed. I had to slow down. I had to drop my pace. I didn't have the moment that I wanted to have. I had preconceived notions, preconceived expectations, and they were dashed. So if you've been in business long enough, you have probably felt that crash of performance. And I would hazard to say that it's likely you felt that in your body before you started seeing that show up in your business. Your body will always be the canary in the coal mine. It will give you signals before your fancy metrics dashboard gives you the signals that there's something wrong, that something is being burned out, that you are running out of gas in your tank. Your body will tell you. I don't care what business you're in. Your body beats your metrics every single time. And the way that it shows up for me is when I feel performative is I become almost, I want to use the word obsessed, but that's probably too strong of a word. I become reliant on external metrics. So I'll draw the analogy to running again, is when I find I get so into how am I doing with my goals in running, I fall into this behavior and I'll snap out of it and become really aware, but I'll sit there with my ChatGPT, I'll sit there with my Runna app, I'll sit there with my Strava and my Garmin app, which is like my watch, and I will analyze my metrics, and I'll be looking for these small little things to hang my hat on that did I do better today than I did yesterday, and explain this to me and analyze and explain to me how, for example, my cadence on my runs is improving even by like a microsecond. And I'll sit there for like an hour and my husband will be like, what are you doing? Are you like writing War and Peace? What are you doing? And I'm like, oh no, I'm just analyzing my running metrics so that my next run I can do better. Instead of dropping into my body and asking myself, okay, wait a minute, you just started teaching yourself how to run like realistically 6 months ago. How are you feeling in your body right now? Well, I feel like I can take a more full breath. I feel like my legs are getting leaner. I can feel more of my feet hit the floor in a meaningful way when I'm walking. I can feel my spine is more upright. I feel more awareness of my hip joints. I feel all these really cool things that like 6 months ago, I never felt. My body knows I'm doing great, but I can obsess over the metrics. That's not going to build consistency. If I stayed focused only on the metrics, today would have been a fail for me. It would have been a big fat F, but I refuse to accept that because I set out with the intention of running at sunrise and I did it. I did that 5K. So what I've learned is really the problem I see most often with business owners is that we commit to something that inevitably causes a collapse because we think that's what we need to commit to. And what I've learned, and this daily practice of certainly showing up every single day on the podcast and every single day on YouTube, oh my goodness, the YouTube thing is blowing my mind because that is an entirely new commitment for me, kind of like learning to run. It's terrifying for me to be on YouTube. But what the daily practice is teaching me is that sustainable visibility in your business is an energetic equation. It's not a calendar strategy. So some mornings I get up and I do it first thing. It's still dark outside. Some days I need to sink into it and let the energy come to me and I do it later in the morning. Sometimes I'm doing it later in the afternoon. It's really about the intentionality, not the measurement. It's about whether your nervous system can handle this new commitment and everything you're doing around it to support the new commitment from a body level. Once your body is on board and you're feeling it in your body, the metrics will follow. You can't expand from a place of strain. That's the other thing that actually occurred to me today on my run, because I got to that point, the peak of the hill, and I started running down the hill and I felt a little bit of a twinge in my left ankle. And I thought, oh, that's new. And then my mind went to, don't strain it because then you won't be able to run anymore. You'll have to sit with your foot up on ice and a tensor bandage and all these things. And I started having this vision of strain. And I realized, ooh, when you push yourself to the point of strain, you cannot expand. You have to stop. When does expansion happen? And this happens in business, and I believe it happens in running, and I know it happens in yoga, is that you can only expand from a place of steadiness. So what did I do on that run today? And this is what's really hilarious about all of this, is that as soon as I felt that twinge in my ankle, I focused on my stance. I just did a quick body scan and I thought, oh, am I too hunched over? Am I foot striking weird? One thing I've learned is you want to push the ground away energetically when you're running, which is a very cool mental thing to think about. You're pushing the ground away. You're launching yourself forward. You're in a constant act of falling and catching yourself, which I think is a beautiful analogy for business, because that's kind of how it feels when you're running a business, is that you're constantly leaping and then the net appears. And when you're running, that's kind of what you're doing over and over with every step, is you're launching yourself forward and then catching yourself with your own weight and your own steadiness. How cool is that? That's how we are in business too. You're launching yourself forward, and sometimes you nail it, and sometimes you got to check your stance. Sometimes you just got to do that quick scan. Am I on track? So I did a quick stance check. Am I aligned? Am I falling forward? Is my foot striking properly? Am I aligned in my hips? Am I breathing the way I want to be breathing? And then I sent love right into that ankle. And you know what it told me? It said, slow your roll. Slow your roll, Erin. So I slowed down. And that's what resulted in me not having the perfect run. But I listened. And if I hadn't, I would have probably really messed up my ankle if I had kept running another 3 kilometers on a sore foot. By the time I was done, my foot didn't hurt anymore. This is all about creating coherence. Consistency is cool. It's a buzzword. Show up, just show up. My God, I'm so sick of hearing that. I think I've done another podcast about why the concept of just show up doesn't work. But today I just wanted to share this with you, that it's really what you need is coherence. Be coherent and people will respond. And that's what I'm learning. Your body will feel better. You'll feel more confident. Your audience will respond to you. You will get unexpected things drop into your orbit, your sales orbit. And I think I do, we're a week into this. We've got 3 weeks left to go. We should probably talk about sales. So if you have questions about sales, if you have questions about energetic networking, please drop them in the comment box. Please send me a DM. I am happy to unpack all of this with you. How this concept of coherence and energy can grow your business in a way that feels incredible. So I'm just going to rephrase this so that you have a little bit of a devotional kind of takeaway at this point. I want you to ask yourself if you are being called to in your work, truly, 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 post more and focus in on that minutia, or if what you're actually being called to do is to let your coherence lead, is to let your footfall be more steady. Maybe the work right now that you are being called to do is to learn what rhythm feels natural for you in a way that lets you stay open, abundant, moving, without burning out. And for me, it's that pace that I set today. Slower than probably what every Instagram running influencer would ever put up with. But for me, that's the pace that created coherence and let me finish strong and uninjured. For me, in my business, my visibility, I have learned it's this daily devotional. This is what I need. When I don't have this, I clam up. In the past 6 months, I haven't given myself the space to do this kind of transmission work. And I suffered because this is coherent for me. It might not be for you. In fact, I don't think daily is coherent for most people. I don't. This is my special thing that I give to you. What is your special rhythm and coherence frequency? And how can you be okay with that by, instead of comparing it to the pace of someone else like me, you're not going to go out there and be like, well, Erin does it every single day. I should do it every single day. No. This is my frequency. What's yours? I will honor your frequency, because when you're in your frequency, you are going to feel great. You are going to be uninjured. You are going to find small moments of celebration and realignment that matter and mean something to you. Just like that moment on my run today when I realigned because my ankle started to twinge. That meant something to me. Nobody else on earth would have looked at me and been like, oh, she's realigning because her ankle's sore. Nobody knew that. I realigned my frequency to what felt good for me. That's the real consistency. That's the kind that lasts. So please drop me a comment, share the show. If you're watching on YouTube, I would love a subscribe or a thumbs up or whatever it is that we do on YouTube. So fun. So fun. I'll see you back here tomorrow, and let me know if you have any questions about sales, business development, or anything else that has come up to you or occurred to you as we have been going through this journey together.